long before the arrival of European ships, long before the creation of colonies, and centuries before the United States became a nation. North America was already home to millions of people. Across vast forests, sweeping plains, towering mountains, and winding rivers, hundreds of cultures thrived. These societies built cities, developed trade networks, cultivated crops, and formed complex political systems. Yet for generations, their story was often reduced to a simple phrase: before the settlers. But the truth is far richer. To understand America, we must first explore a time before America existed. A time when the continent was shaped not by colonies, but by civilizations. This is the story of America before America. The story begins thousands of years before recorded history. During the last ice age, vast glaciers covered much of the northern hemisphere. Sea levels were lower than today. And between Siberia and Alaska, a land bridge emerged, a region scientists call Beringia. Over thousands of years, small groups of humans crossed this frozen landscape. They were hunters and gatherers following migrating animals. Step by step, generation by generation, they moved southward into a new continent. These early people adapted to a wide range of environments, from icy tundra to dense forests and open grasslands. Over time, they spread across the Americas. By around 10,000 years ago, humans lived throughout North America. These communities were not primitive wanderers. They were skilled survivors who understood the land deeply. They knew animal migration routes. They tracked seasonal changes. They learned which plants healed and which were poisonous. And slowly, they began shaping the continent itself. By the time Europeans would one day arrive, North America was home to hundreds of distinct nations, each with its own language, traditions, and ways of life. One of the most remarkable societies emerged along the Mississippi River. Around the year 1050, a city known today as Cahokia rose near present-day Illinois. Cahokia was enormous for its time. At its peak, historians estimate that more than 20,000 people lived there, making it larger than many European cities of the same period. The city featured massive earthen mounds built by hand. The largest, known as Monk's Mound, rises nearly 100 feet high and covers more land than the base of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Cahokia was a center of trade, religion, and political power. People traveled from distant regions bringing copper, shells, stone, and pottery. But around the 1300s, the city began to decline. Historians still debate why: climate change, resource strain, or political shifts may have played roles. Yet Cahokia was only one example of the continent's complexity. Across North America, societies developed in many forms. Some built cities. Others lived in smaller communities that moved with the seasons. Each adapted to its environment in unique ways. North America's landscapes are incredibly diverse. And so were the cultures that lived within them. On the Great Plains, tribes followed massive herds of bison that stretched across the horizon. These animals provided nearly everything people needed: food, clothing, tools, shelter. Nothing was wasted. In the Pacific Northwest, dense forests and rich coastal waters supported thriving fishing cultures. Communities built large wooden longhouses and carved intricate totem poles that told stories of ancestry and belief. In the Southwest, people known today as the ancestral Puebloans constructed remarkable stone dwellings into canyon cliffs. Places like Mesa Verde still stand as evidence of their engineering and artistry. Meanwhile, in the eastern woodlands, forests supported agricultural villages. Communities cultivated corn, beans, and squash, crops often called the Three Sisters because they grew best together. Across the continent, these societies shared something important: a deep relationship with the land. They did not see nature as something to conquer. Instead, the land was part of a larger balance, one that required respect and care. Although these societies were diverse, they were far from isolated. Trade routes stretched across the continent. Copper from the Great Lakes traveled hundreds of miles. Shells from coastal waters appeared deep inland. Obsidian from western volcanoes was traded across vast distances. Rivers served as highways. Canoes moved goods and ideas between communities. Along these routes, cultures exchanged not only materials, but knowledge. Agricultural techniques spread. Artistic styles influenced distant tribes. And alliances formed between nations. North America was not a scattered wilderness of disconnected tribes. It was a continent linked by relationships. A network of cultures interacting over generations. Many native societies developed sophisticated systems of governance. Among the most influential was the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, also known as the Iroquois Confederacy. Formed by several nations, including the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, and Seneca, this alliance created a political system based on cooperation and consensus. Leaders gathered in councils to debate issues affecting the entire Confederacy. Decisions were made through discussion rather than force. Women played powerful roles in many societies. In Haudenosaunee culture, clan mothers held authority to select and remove male chiefs. These political systems impressed many European observers when they later arrived. Some historians believe elements of native governance even influenced ideas about democracy in early America. Spiritual beliefs were central to life across native cultures. Though traditions varied widely, many shared similar themes. Nature was sacred. Animals, rivers, mountains, and forests were seen as living parts of a connected world. Ceremonies honored seasonal cycles, planting, harvest, migration, and renewal. Stories passed through generations explained how the world came to be. These oral traditions preserved history, values, and identity. Spirituality was not separate from daily life. It was woven into it. Hunting, farming, community gatherings. All were part of a larger relationship between people and the world around them. Centuries before Columbus, Norse explorers from Greenland briefly reached North America. Led by Leif Erikson, they established a small settlement in what is now Newfoundland, Canada. Archaeological evidence at L'Anse-aux Meadows confirms this early contact. But the Norse presence was short-lived. Conflict with local indigenous people and the challenges of distance eventually forced them to leave. For native societies, life continued largely unchanged. The continent remained theirs. Yet within a few centuries, another wave of explorers would arrive from across the Atlantic. And this time, the impact would reshape the world forever. When Europeans eventually arrived in the late 1400s and early 1500s, they did not discover an empty land. They encountered a continent filled with nations, communities, languages, and histories thousands of years old. The story of America did not begin with colonies. It began long before. With the first people who crossed an icy land bridge. With the builders of great cities like Cahokia. With hunters on the plains and farmers in forest villages. Their descendants still live across North America today. Carrying traditions, languages, and identities that have endured centuries of change. To understand America's past, we must remember America before America. Because the story of this continent did not start with discovery. It started with people. And it continues with them still.